Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of Hank's Heart. I'm Hank, and I had a heart attack at 38 years old. I know that may come as a shock to you. It certainly came as a shock to me. I considered myself healthy, normal. I'm a bit overweight. I could probably go to the gym more often than I do. I certainly could eat healthier than I have been. But, to find myself in the emergency room 5 days ago, being rushed into cardiac surgery, and having a stent put in my right ventricle was something that I never expected to happen. And I just want to detail to you exactly what my experience was, if nothing else, to get it off my chest, pun intended, and provide some accountability to myself. I'm not sure anybody out there is going to watch. If you are, thank you. I just want to provide a space where I can be honest with myself and perhaps, learn from the community and grow and in my recovery and detail exactly what it is I'm doing, trying to stay alive, trying to prevent another incident, and just really, really grateful for the opportunity to even be sitting here and talking into this microphone. So the thing that's really hard for me to wrap my brain around is how this actually all happened. I'm a former athlete. I'm a ISSA certified personal trainer. It's not what I do now, but I live an active lifestyle. I have an active job. I never saw this coming. I suppose my journey to a heart attack started a couple of years ago when I started noticing that I had back pain. It started inhibiting more and more things in my day-to-day life as time went on. It was uncomfortable to sit. I had to buy special furniture. I had to bring neck pillow to friends' houses. I had to stretch all the time. Right in between my shoulder blades is where I felt the pain. So first and foremost, if you're experiencing back pain that's localized between your shoulder blades, you might want to start thinking that it might not necessarily be back pain. That is a very rare place for you to experience back pain. Most back pain is localized either in the neck or the lower lumbar. They call it the thoracic spine. Your thoracic spine is very well protected. I had taken a fall. I had hit the middle of my back. To me, it made sense that I had a herniated disc or something like that, which is why I let this go on for so long without seeking medical attention. Also, the way that the American healthcare system works, even though people say that we have the best healthcare system in the world, it's extremely terrible. I have catastrophic health insurance. I have a $5,000 deductible that needs to be met before anything gets paid by the insurance company. So everything that happens medically, I have to take care of at the primary care level. That wasn't the case. I had 70% blockage my artery. They had to stent it. It's kind of been a slow degradation, to be honest with you. Less and less positions, standing, sitting, sleeping, being comfortable. I bought it's called an upper thoracic back stretcher, which I thought was working wonders for me. If you go into the doctor and you complain about middle of the back pain, they're going to assume that it is your heart. And I didn't know that. If you're experiencing that kind of back pain, you should start thinking that it might be your heart. It could save your life. On Monday, I was getting ready to see some family. I was packing up for a road trip, a 4.5 hour car ride, nothing crazy. And so I'm loading up the car. I've got a lot of things that I'm taking. I live on the 3rd floor. So I loaded the car up, and then I came back upstairs and basically collapsed out of pain. I just thought, man, my back is killing me. So I lay down on the back stretcher and I spread myself out, and looking back on it, you're opening up your chest. That's why I got relief from the upper thoracic back stretchers, because it really just opened me up and it allowed my arteries to get the blood moving. I ignored those warning signs. I packed up the car. I had to take a break every 5 minutes that I was doing it. My back was killing me. That's how I thought. But in all likelihood, I was having a cardiac incident. The only position that was comfortable at that point was to put my hands behind my head, really get up against a flat surface or the corner of a wall, and really just open myself up, lean back into it, and stretch my back out. But really, again, it was really my chest. It was really the fact that I was opening myself up that was providing the relief. I started my drive, and I had to take a break. The last hour of the drive, I had to take 3 separate breaks to stretch myself out. The first was the toughest. I was 2 miles away from the exit, and I legitimately contemplated pulling over to the shoulder and taking my break there because I didn't think I could make it to the exit. Did I have the heart attack then? Maybe, because it was pain like I had never experienced before, shortness of breath. But I made it to the exit. I kicked the can down the road, literally. Made it to the next rest area, then the one after that, and then I finally made it to my destination. Once I got to my parents' house, I stretched myself out and got some relief, and then said, okay, well, I'm going straight to bed. About an hour and a half later, I got woken up by my back pain. If you Google back pain so bad that it wakes you up, Google suggests it's not back pain at all. If that happens, if you're being woken up by back pain, if you can't find a comfortable sitting or laying prone position, then it's not back pain, it's your heart. So recognize that and get yourself some help, and do it quickly. Don't delay. The day after that, I pack up and I go back home, load up on ibuprofen. At that point in time, I had assumed that I needed anti-inflammatories, and I made sure to take breaks along the way to stretch myself out, to stretch my aching back, but it was getting harder and harder and harder to get relief every step of the way. But I made it to my destination, made it back home, and I was thinking, wow, like ibuprofen is the answer. Anti-inflammatories are exactly what I need, because the drive back was so much better than what I had experienced on the drive up. But again, 34 steps between the car and my apartment, and I got to the top of the stairs and collapsed. And I know that I've used that phrase here a couple of times already, but man, it was different. Just pain, and tightness. But this was different than I'd experienced the other times. Really bad. I'd say 8 out of 10 pain. But within 5 minutes, having my chest opened up, the capillaries opened up, I was able to get through that event. But then I went to bed and again got woken up by back pain, and I moved it to the floor. I threw out a yoga mat that I have. I was thinking that if I flattened myself out, the back issue has to correct itself. And it didn't. It got worse. And not only that, but every position that I had was painful now. Behind my head, stretching, that was even painful. I was getting no relief. So I laid back down on my back. At that point, it was 10 out of 10 pain. It was the most painful, excruciating thing that I have ever endured. And in that moment of, delirium, I asked God to take my legs. That if this was how things were going to be from now on, that if I had bone-on-bone contact in my spine and I was rubbing my spine to a nub to just sever it, to just sever my spinal column and take my legs. And I did ask him that. I thought that I had to go to the hospital because of my back pain. Get on the phone with the insurance company and make sure that the hospital that I went to is going to be covered, which makes a whole lot of logical sense. But, when you're in the throes of a heart attack, it's not something you necessarily want to have to navigate. But, again, my main objective was to try to tackle this through the primary care route. And I was still convinced that this was a spine issue. So I set up a visit with a telehealth doctor, in my mind, to try to secure anything that would enable me to manage the pain while trying to navigate the nightmare that is the United States healthcare system. I'm just trying to get, some anti-inflammatories and something to manage the pain so that I could make an appointment with an orthopedist or a neurologist or a chiropractor, anybody that could take a picture of my back, and try to do that behind the scenes, try to get an MRI, try to source the medical attention that my self-diagnosis said that I needed. And this lady wasn't having it. The doctor, I can't be more blunt, she saved my life. She wasn't hearing anything that I had to say about my back. She was asking me questions about my chest. I'm like, lady, what does this have to do with anything? This is my back. I've been dealing with it for 2 years. Don't you think I know where my pain is? But she kept on asking if I had pressure under my sternum, and I did. She asked if I had fatigue or shortness of breath, and I did. She asked me if I had any loss of sensation in my extremities, and I did. Now, it wasn't on my left side, it was on my right side, my right hand. And it still kind of tingles, by the way, to be honest with you. She told me that I needed to get to the hospital as soon as I could. That her instinct was an aortic dissection. So that gave me the motivation to drive myself, having a heart attack, to the hospital. Because, you can't afford an ambulance. It's ridiculous. Anyway. And so I got to University Hospital at about, 10 o'clock in the morning, let's call it. I came and I checked into the desk and I said, I've been advised by a telehealth professional to come here. Her gut instinct is aortic dissection. The fact I think that I had already had a telehealth visit certainly played into my favor because they saw me right away. And as soon as I went back there, they started doing the test, start getting your information, checking your vitals. They took a blood sample, and man, they hopped right to it, which freaked me out, number one, because, within an hour and a half of checking in, I wasn't being wheeled into surgery, cardiac surgery. They took an EKG, they took an ultrasound of my heart, they took an x-ray, they ran diagnostics, they took vials of blood. I'm being wheeled into surgery, and, you have that moment where you're having to contemplate life and death. They could see it in my eyes. I came in there for back pain, and now I'm being wheeled into cardiac surgery. And so it was a lot. It was very sudden. One of the doctors looked at me and said, "Hey, I realize that this is a lot for you right now, but this is like an oil change for us. We got this, have faith." That was huge. That was, in that moment, I needed to hear that. Okay, this is fine. You're at the hospital. These are doctors. It's what they do. And so I get wheeled in, and the first person that I see is a guy that's sitting by a computer screen looking extremely relaxed. He said, "Hey, my name's Tim." I said, "I'm the one that's going to be doing the surgery today." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Are you going to put me out for this, Tim? Am I going to be awake?" He says, You're not going to be here. You're not going to feel anything. Kind of dodged the question. But the fact of the matter is I wasn't out at all. It gave me some localized anesthetic. It went in through my right wrist. Sorry, you can see. It went in right there. That's from the CAT discoloration as a result of the stent being fished up through my shoulder and into my heart. And he said, "But it's okay. You don't have any nerve endings in your veins or in your heart. So we can do whatever we want in there and you won't feel pain." Which is true, by the way. I didn't feel pain in my vascular system. But when they're going up with the stent, and they took a turn from my arm to my shoulder, I could feel it. It didn't hurt. I could feel it. I could feel it in my vein. I could feel it was like a pipe cleaner, like a squeaky kind of sensation to it. Really, really weird. So anyway, Tim had said, "Hey, first of all, if you feel pain while we're doing our thing, you just say, 'Hey Tim, I'm in pain.'" And he'll kick up whatever, the anesthetic, whatever it is. So he goes in with the scope. I can feel him. Takes a turn around my shoulder, and all of a sudden I start feeling some pressure in my chest. And I say, "Hey Tim," and he goes, "You might not want to talk right now. We're in your heart." And I was like, absolutely wild. But the procedure was a success. They said that my right ventricle was 70% blocked and that they found blockages in all the other arterial connections, but they weren't substantial enough to stent. So I have to change everything that I do. There's no other way to put it. Every single thing in my life has to be changed, and there's no doubt in my mind that I am changed for that fact. I think that I have a perspective that really only one can acquire, having stood face to face with death, stared death in the face. So I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy to, talk about my experience and hopefully shed some light on maybe your experience. Experience something similar, or if you have fears that you might be headed down that path, hit it in the comments section. We're gonna build a community and we're gonna do this together. So look forward to episode 2. Provide some structure to how the episodes will be constructed. I would assume this is really something that I just thought that everybody needed to hear. I appreciate the support. Do all the things, hit the bell, subscribe, like. We're gonna get through this together. Thanks everybody very much. See you in the next one.